Well, day 2 of practice is winding down here on Lake Okeechobee for the first tour event of the year, presented by Evinrude. I got Koby Kreiger with me right now, and I kind of want to call you Mr. Florida, but you are pretty good in Florida, and we've heard some things about Okeechobee yesterday in these interviews. Basically, it sounds like it's a lot different, and she's tough right now.
Very much true. It's even a lot different than it was a couple weeks ago when we fished the Coastal tournament. So definitely a lot different than it was, last year when you guys were here. So it's very, very tough. The water's very cold. The water's very dirty. Two of the worst things in the world that could happen to Lake Okeechobee, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
Right, and it seems like, I mean, normally dirty water is kind of it's a thing that comes up almost every tournament here because it seems to blow at some point. But it seems like it's just been dirty for a long time. Normally it doesn't stay dirty for like the stretch. I mean, probably before the Costa, really, I guess, is when it started to dirty up.
Well, it was ever since the hurricane that hit us last September. The lake's been dirty, a lot dirtier than it normally is, and then we've had a lot of fronts and stuff blow through in the last month, which spread that dirty water even places where it normally isn't dirty. So, the hurricane did a lot of damage, last September, and it's going to take the lake a long time to rebound from that. And if the wind would just calm down, it would be a lot better. But you can fish a place that's clean one day and the wind changed direction and you come back the next day and whatever you just learned is no good. So it's very crazy right now.
Well, I rode around a little bit today on the water for a gallery for FLWfishing.com, and I was mainly down in South Bay. Saw a lot of guys, saw a lot of fish getting caught. They're all about this big, little dinks. What can you echo on that? I mean, are you getting a lot of bites, just no size?
No, it's today, today I got a lot more bites than I did yesterday. Tomorrow's going to be the day of practice. It was really cold leading up to practice on Sunday. A little bit different than when the Costa was here. It was warm leading up to practice, and then it got cold. So, there was a few more bigger fish caught. When the water's cold the way it is now, and it's warming, it's getting better. Instead of at the Costa, it was warm, getting cold, getting worse. So, a lot of guys are going to be crying wolf, and you'll probably see a lot of guys do a lot better in the tournament than what they did in practice. Hopefully I may be one of those guys. But it's one of those things, you sort of go and practice now, looking for some areas with decent looking water, maybe with the water temperature coming up a little bit, and we got a big windstorm I think coming. Wednesday on into Thursday, Friday for the entire week is what I've seen. So, all that plays into effect of what's going to happen, and it's going to make this puppy a tough one.
We've seen tournaments here in the past where, a guy might have an area, you kind of survive through those first 2 days of the full field, and then kind of when you get it to yourself, you can kind of pick it apart a little more. Whether you go on to like Bradley Hallman, all he really had to do was just kind of survive. In other years past, you've seen guys bust bigger bags later in the day or later in the week. Do you think we'll have kind of one of those survival situations this week where you'll have just an area? We'll see a lot of guys do well out of one area and just work it over, or is it going to be run a bunch of spots? Well, kind of pick one here and there.
For one, I don't think there's a bunch of spots to fish. I think there's probably 4 or 5 areas on this lake to fish right now. And when you get a bite, and if it's the right size, you better get in the boat, because I don't know how many of those right bites you're going to get throughout the day. I don't really see you being able to run and gun. I think if you get in an area that that there's some fish, probably your best thing to do is sit there and wait them out and hope the good Lord graces you with a big bite or two before the end of the day. And because there's a lot of bad water in between the right looking water, so it's a lot different than it has been in years past.
Well, before I let you roll, Koby, the final thing I want to ask you is for fantasy fishing players, I want you to give me one non-Florida guy that you think would be good in this event and one Florida guy, and it can be yourself.
Well, I'll never pick myself for anything, so I never have to worry about that. Obviously, I'll go with Scott Martin, with the Florida guy. He's got as much experience on this lake as anybody, and he's may have experienced these conditions, however many times in his life. So we'll throw out Scott Martin for that, and we'll go with Andy Morgan. I mean, he's a legend, so we'll go with Andy Morgan.
The easy way out. I like
There
it,
you
Koby.
go.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, man.
The man with a million questions.
I always have a million questions. We're keeping things rolling. Got Bradley Hallman with me. I think the last time we spoke here on Okeechobee, you were holding a giant check and a big trophy, and you were boat flipping 8-pounders. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great week. It's been a little different this week for me. Obviously, everything looks a lot different. Hurricane has taken its toll on Okeechobee. A lot of the really thick stuff is just gone. Mm-hmm. You know, the outside reed lines are really gone, and it's even hurt stuff in the bays too.
Right.
It's been a really unproductive week for me. The fish are still here, but I've really struggled for the last 2 days. Today was the first day that I actually caught a limit, and I don't think they'd weigh 10 pounds, and that's with a 4-pounder. So it's been a 180-degree turn for me. So
right, and I mean it sounds like that from a lot of the guys. Mm-hmm. Obviously the conditions are a little tough right now. I think the one potential saving grace we could have is the weather at least kind of warming up / being stable. We're kind of coming out of a little bit of a cool funk. Now wind is a whole different deal.
Right.
We'll have to deal with that. But that little bit of warmer temperatures could maybe help things out, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I saw it today for sure. You know, just a big step up in activity level and the way that they're biting, much more aggressive. So as we kind of continue through this week, and it's supposed to be warming every day, I think that we'll have that opportunity. Now,
just out of curiosity, yesterday we heard water temperatures were anywhere from like the very upper 50s to like 62, 63. Did you see an increase at all today?
Yeah, I got in some really shallow water today where I actually saw some really high 68, 69 on my Garmin today. Now, I was really shallow and back in some backwater, but it really got up there today. It had a lot of sun today.
We did.
Had a lot of sun. Yeah. Yesterday was warm, but it was still overcast most of the day. Today, man, it was blazing right from the beginning. So these Florida fish, they like the sunshine.
They do.
They do.
The one thing we don't hear a lot about here on Okeechobee is the rim ditch itself. Now, we're here in Clewiston, right on the other side of this break wall here, it's like mud out in that rim ditch.
Right.
Have you looked at the rim ditch at all to find maybe some clean water or a group of fish that are living in there? Because you really don't ever hear anyone fishing it, but it seems like it could maybe be a player this week.
It could be. To me, the rim ditch and the canals are a player when you have real extreme conditions. Like one year we were here and it was so low that a lot of the fish had pulled to the ditches, and the rim ditch was one of them. And that was extreme condition. Another extreme condition is, I think, on real cold fronts, real strong cold fronts. One-day tournaments, I think that you see those a lot of times. Maybe get one out of a ditch. I'm no Okeechobee specialist. I don't know, but it seems to me, just looking historically, that the ditches play in extreme variables. You know, when something's really crazy happen. Now we do have something with the hurricane.
Sure.
Because it definitely looks different, and there are very small pockets of clear water, and there's a lot of boats in them.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
So, you know, it definitely could be a player.
Well, I mean, the other thing too that we're hearing from a lot of guys, and you kind of touched on already, is I don't really think that practice, we could put too much emphasis on what's going to happen in the tournament as of what's going on today. You know what I mean? Like, things seem like they're going to get a little better. Obviously, guys sandbag, you know, like everyone, oh man, I'm catching this. And then you go to the tournament and they're catching 8-pounders. Now, the big difference though is Okeechobee, usually that one big bite can take you from like 50th place to 20th place, you know what I mean?
Right.
Have you seen, or do you feel like you've been around any of them bigger bites, more so than just the little bucks?
The problem that I'm having, and I haven't talked to that many people, so I don't really know what all's going on, but the issue that I'm having is small fish, small fish, small fish, and when I get in an area that's got a concentration of fish, I mean, they're peanuts. And it's like, you know, you're just going, come on, one of these things be big, and it's just another peanut, you know. And when I say little, I'm talking little, like 8 to 12 inch, you know. Little. Like the ones you do not want, you might as well not be catching, you know. And I've gone through quite a bit of that, and you know, I had one good bite today, and it was in a spot that I was like, yes. And it was right when I got in there, and it looked gorgeous, and I flipped everything in there, and it was the only bite I had. I was like, man, we're gonna turn out the lights on this place. Nope, wrong.
Maybe some friends will show up.
Nah, she was lost. She was lost.
The final thing I kind of want to know is, you know, in Florida here, obviously the dirty water, it's a bad deal. However, the fish, like the thing that blows my mind is like guys that go shiner fishing out here in dirty water, still crush them. Like, so obviously those fish still chew. Have you played around with trying to get bit in any sort of like a, not like super mud, but some of that, there's a lot of like in between water, let's call it.
I haven't, you know, my experience in all the Florida waters, if you're not from here and you're not real familiar with it, you get off by yourself and you're really fighting an uphill battle. I did get off by myself today, but I'm getting off by myself in clear water places.
Okay, okay.
You know, to get off just in stained water here, we've only got 3 days, man. I don't have time for that. I'm sorry, I don't.
I hear you. Final thing I want to know is, you got 2 days down, one more day of practice left. What do you want to accomplish tomorrow here on this vast body of water?
I hope I find the fish that I fished for during the tournament. Whatever they be, whether they be check fish, limit fish, whatever. I hope I'm...
You need somewhere to start.
I need somewhere to fish the entire event, because what I've seen so far, man, it's not very good.
Well, hopefully he'll become more optimistic. I know he will. You'll catch some fish. Thanks for joining us,
Appreciate it, Kyle. Thank you.